What is up, everybody? We have a weekly testimony this week. I got a good friend of mine, Jeremy, that's going to be sharing his testimony. Why don't you introduce yourself? I know I said your name already, but
My name's Jeremy Cotton, 29 years old. Yep.
married.
Have a little 11-month-year-old, little handful.
Cool. So just give us a quick bio. Maybe what kind of work you do,
Right.
maybe a hobby, something like that.
Yeah, I work on the river. I'm a tugboat captain. I've been there for 12 years since I was 18. Pretty much I was about to go into the Marines on front line, and because I didn't want to go to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and my uncle that worked out there, he called me. He found out that I was gonna go get sworn in like the day before, and he called me and he's like, "So, you want to go get shot at, or you want to make real money?" I said, I'm all for it. So I've been out there ever since.
That's awesome. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go, into it and just ask. I guess first and foremost, we'll just ask you. What was it like growing up? What was your childhood like? Things like that.
All right. Well, childhood. I have great parents. I have very loving parents. My dad. I've always been grown up in faith. My dad's been going to the same church. He's been ushering at the same church, White Dove, for since before I was born. And my mom, she's a great woman. She's a Christian. They split up when I was about 3 years old. Well, they were married, and then whenever my mom got pregnant, they got divorced, and my mom got pregnant from me. They got remarried, and then it just didn't work out. And well, in growing up, it was kind of like back and forth custody. Week on here with my mom, week with my dad. It was never nothing stable. My dad, like I said, he's a great guy, great Christian, but he was kind of rough around the edges and hard on me, and like he was loving. He would say I love you and stuff like that, but it wasn't like a true relationship, if that makes sense. It wasn't like it's like I love you, boy, or you know what I mean. Like it wasn't like he didn't really have a father son relationship as far as getting deep with me about stuff and explaining stuff to me. It was just kind of like black or white, you know. But yeah, so I lived with my dad and my mom off and on, and my mom was remarried like 3 times, so she was moving different places, and her last husband that she was with before they got a divorce, he was in the military, so he would move a lot, and so really I stayed with my dad in Belle Chase because that's where I'm from, and that's where all my friends are, and I kind of wanted to finish school there. So it was a lot of back and forth, and it was a lot of confusion growing up. It was just like why can't I just have my parents together, or why are they making me choose? Um, so that was really hard on me. And it also was hard on me is my dad got remarried a couple of times, and my mom did. So just meeting these new adults coming in my life that weren't the best for me, at the time. Strangers, and so I had to deal with that. So pretty much I just was kind of like I kind of like was, I don't know what the word, what would you call it? Like, you don't obey your parents. Well, I was
Rebellious.
rebellious. I was very, very rebellious growing up. And like I said, my dad was really hard on me. So like I would do things, I would act out for attention, okay? Because my dad's also really big into deer hunting, and when I was growing up, he owned his own plumbing company, so he was working, a lot of hours every day of the week. And when it was the weekend, he was deer hunting. So he really wasn't there a whole lot, um, you know, present. He was there, he just wasn't present, if I would say. But so growing up, I dealt with that, and it kind of made me rebellious. Like I was saying, like I would act out, I would sneak out, and I would do things to get his attention. And when he would like punish me, it wasn't just like, all right, let me give me your Xbox, or all right, you have no TV for a week. Like it wasn't like that. It was pretty much I was locked in a house. Okay, and about that age when I was being rebellious.
What age is that?
So it was probably from I probably started acting out since I was like 10 or 11 till I was like maybe, I mean, till 18, whatever. But what I'm saying is whenever I was 10 years old, he married this woman, and at first, she was great to us. You know what I mean? She took care of us and stuff like that. But like I said, my dad was so absent, and I was so grounded all the time. I couldn't leave, so I was in the house with her. Like that's who like my friend was, and she would just over the years, she had no friends. So over the years, she would just complain to me about my dad's relationship, and I'm only like 12, 11, 12, 13, 14. You know what I mean? This is like a 4 or 5 year span of this happening. And I was kind of like her therapist. you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to like go play with my friends, and I couldn't even because my dad would just go hunting and just leave me with her. Like, okay, you watch him. So that was a big, I guess, deal, and it would just make me more rebellious. I would do whatever it could to just get out the house. You know what I mean? Um, so that was probably from the time I was about, yeah, like I said, and then or maybe it was like 10 to 15, and then when I was 15, I my dad kicked me out the house, threw me out the house, and I was on the streets. Um, and I was living with my friend's house, going to high school, and I was thinking about dropping out, but at this time my mom lived in Mississippi. So she begged me. She was like, "Don't drop out. You could do it. So I would go live with her, and the whole time, like during high school and stuff, I got kicked out at every single high school I've been to. I went to 4 different high schools, every like 4 years, 4 different high schools, and then Gracebrook, I got a degree, which I don't know how, like a diploma, which I don't know how. I mean, but yeah. So I had a very unstable childhood, and I had a lot of anger towards my dad, like a lot of anger, because he would just leave me in this house with this woman that, I mean, she was just a wreck, and so throughout those 5 years, 4 or 5 years, I don't even I try to put a time frame on it, but it was such like a bad point in my life that it's just like I really don't even know of exact time period. It was like kind of just like a all one thing. I don't know how to explain it, but through that, I was mentally and physically abused, sexually abused. Yeah, I was just trying to grow up and just like kind of figure out things, and the things I was figuring out was all from her, and it was just not. It wasn't a good spot, and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't want to upset my dad. I didn't want to upset my mom, and yeah, so that, and then my mom, and I've heard stuff about my mom. I don't know the whole facts and truth, but I heard something. They had something going on, and so my stepmom, that lady I'm talking about, she was trying to convey me and ask me questions and trying to get me to go to my mom's and with a tape recorder and trying to tape record my mom. You know what I mean? Just putting
Right.
me like a 14-year-old, 13, 14-year-old shouldn't be put in that position. Like I should be throwing a football outside or going to the movies or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Playing house with my little girlfriend. I shouldn't have to be worrying about that. But so that's that time frame. I she ended up my dad and her ended up getting a divorce, which was, I mean, it was needed. She ended up moving away. Never seen her since. Um, But I finished school, so I got kicked out. The last time I got kicked out was my senior year, and Bell Chaser said they said you can come back here, but you're on thin ice. Like they already know, like you know, no write up or nothing, and we'll let you graduate with the people you grew up with. You know, I was like, all right, cool, but that didn't last about a couple months, and so my mom at the time was living in Terrebonne, Homa, and I went to school there, and it was fine. Like when living with my mom, yeah, she wasn't very structured, but she was real with me, and she had a relationship with me, and she was real genuine with me, and and the thing about going to school there, for some reason I had extra credits from other schools, so I only had to go to school till like 10:30 in the morning, so I couldn't get in trouble,
Right.
you know. And like I said, by the grace of God, I got my high school diploma, and yeah, and that's about my childhood. I mean, and that's my childhood. I would
Right.
think.
But in your childhood, I mean, you was in and out of church growing up. I mean, you knew a little bit about the Lord and things like that.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, my dad every Sunday going to church. Like you had to go to church. That was one thing. Like he in the weekends, like he'd be gone, but he would make sure we got to church. And then right after he's out. No, that was 100%. I was he was in me like, but I guess I struggled because just like I guess a lot of kids that grow up in being a Christian, and their parents like have hard fathers that are like, you need to go to church, you need to do this, and then they see how he really acts behind closed doors. I'm not saying my dad was a terrible person. He's
Right.
just, when it came to me, he might have just been hard, a little too hard, or I just wasn't seeing what I was seeing at church, or like my friends' parents, because they were married. Like I wasn't seeing that in him, so I'm just like, how can he make me do this whenever he's really not? Like he's not showing me, you know, the right way. Which I mean, when I say that, I'm not saying like he didn't. He disciplined me and he told me what was right and wrong, and he lived a life that he didn't drink or he wasn't like that. But I guess emotionally, and behind like I said at home, and it just made me question. You
Right.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so hard because, I mean, you got a single father trying to, you know what I'm saying, um, figure things out and things like that, and then trying to raise you up right. It's like, thank God, because there's some other people who weren't in
Right.
church. So what a blessing to have that
Right.
foundation
Oh
set
yeah.
from a very young
Oh
age,
no,
you
and I
know?
want to give him all the credit. Like implanted that in me. Like if it wasn't for him, I mean, I'm sure I would have found my way. But who knows? I would have never, might have never made it that far to find, to actually find Jesus.
Right.
Because, like I said, I've always been saved. Well, I've been saved multiple times, and I came to Christ again because I have been lost. I've got lost, but He's always been somewhere in me. You know what I mean? Um, like, so I'm like I said, I'm extremely grateful for my dad. Like he was a great supporter. He supported me. Like I could explain. Like I could say some good things. Like every Friday, from the time I was in elementary school to like probably like freshman year, college, or maybe eighth grade and middle school. Every Friday, he would bring me to a donut shop. I remember that. He'd get donuts. He'd drive me to school. Like he was a good father. He was a good dad. It's just when it came to a real like friendship, like because I believe your father, you gotta have that. He has to be stern with you and tell you this, but I believe that he could also be a friend as well. You know what I mean? And kind of explain life, like explain what he did. Whenever all the mistakes he did, and he just told me not to do it because but he was never explained to me why. Like in the most important critical times whenever I'm 17, 18, and I'm getting introduced to all this stuff, or even before that, he just never explained like, look, this is what I went through, like this is what I did, like you know what I mean? Like it's
Right.
just he never really got into detail with things with me. It was always just like I said, black or white with him.
Right. Okay. So we talked a little bit about, who you were and your childhood and things like that. Just let's go into, who you were before Christ, coming
Okay.
maybe like, out of high school, going
Mhm.
into maybe the young adult years, from
Yeah.
teenager to young adult years, things like that. Like I guess what started conspiring or happening in your
Okay.
life?
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah.
Because I know that, there are times where we, because of our childhood, turn to things
Right.
that aren't godly things,
Right.
drugs, alcohol, things that are just, there's a void there that
Oh
we
yeah.
we try and fill,
Hmm.
whether it be with God or anything else. So let's just go into that and just, you could share
Yeah.
and
No
elaborate
doubt.
on that.
Well, I mean, when you're all through high school, you doubt everybody. You experience. You got you drink and you go to parties and stuff, but it's never really a big problem until you get out into or like if you go to college, it's never really a big problem until you get out of college. You see what I'm saying? Because then you're living like you're an adult in a real world, and that's when it's becomes like real. Okay. Well, like I said, I didn't go to college. I started working the same company I am in, and so I work at 7 and 7. I would live on a boat for 7 days, and if it wasn't like that, like I couldn't work a 9 to 5 job for 12 years. Like, and by the grace of God, like I still have my job. I just always showed up, But anyway, so like I said, like so when I was 18, I started working for Crescent. Started to make some money. Was partying. I mean, I got this money at this young age. Like that's all I was into. Drinking. I mean, it really was just your typical 18, 19 year old, lifestyle, not really caring. I would go to church, with my mom and stuff like that, but I was out of it for a while. But I had them in me though. Like I wasn't to that point where I was completely lost again, you know. It was probably so when I was 19 years old, almost 20. I went to spring break for the first time ever. And one thing about me, when I do something, I either do it 100% or not at all. There's no, middle. It is what it is. So my first time going to spring break was at Panama, and when I'm telling you, it's like it might have been 10 spring breaks in 1 week. You know what I mean? It was just. I mean, y'all know what goes on over there, and I mean, 8 days, spent all my money. Mom worried sick, drank probably. I mean, binge drank. Gallons and gallons of alcohol. A lot of drugs. Went to jail the first day I was there.
The first day?
The first day I was there, went to jail, got out of jail. Um, then 2 days later, got in a fight. Had to go to the hospital because my finger got split open and you have a main artery in your finger. So I was like bleeding to death. And everybody was
Jeez.
like, I'm not going to the hospital. And everybody was like, bro, you're turning white. So went to the hospital, got stitches, stayed about 4 or 5 more days. Everybody was leaving. I remember it was storming, raining, and I was just so like out of it, like coming off all the alcohol. I was having withdrawals. That's how much I drank in 8 days, like shaking, throwing up, and had a 5 hour drive back home by myself, pouring down rain the whole time. Like you can only go 45 miles an hour, and I was just. That's the point where I got lost. Like you can get lost quick. You don't have to be. You can get lost in 8 days. You see what I'm saying? Like he wasn't with me, you know. And at the time, my mom was sending me cause she was so worried about me. She was sending me scriptures and stuff, and I didn't read my phone. My phone was probably lost or off the majority of the time. And I remember I was looking at my phone, and I was just reading these scriptures, and I was just like, I didn't. the Jesus just came into me and started convicting me, and I was just like, I need to change because I was 19 years old, and my problem is it was drinking. Like I have alcoholics that run in my family. Like both of my grandpas were, and the thing with me is, it's not that I have to drink every day, but when I do it, like I said, it's 100 or nothing, you know. And I was just like, I need help, you know. Like I just know I just need help. Like so, my mom on the way home, she got me a she called Home of Grace. I don't know if you know that's at in Van Cleve, Mississippi. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Christian operator rehab. And she's like, look, I got you. You know, you're going to rehab. I want you to go to rehab. And at first, I was like, I'm not. I don't have that big of a problem. Like, I was like, kind of like, didn't want to go, but then I just said, you know what, I'm gonna do it for her. Like, I mean, should have did it for myself, but at the time, like, I was just like, that's what got me there. You know. Um, and yeah. So, but before I went there, I was like home for 4 or 5 days, and like having withdrawals bad, like somebody that drank for years. You know. And so I got there. I was in there for about 2.5 months, and honestly, like it's when you're surrounded by just Jesus and people that are trying to get better, it's easy. You know, it's simple and easy when you're around in that environment. Like in that environment, it's easy. You know, and I felt it. You know, I got and I prayed him back into my life. You know, I felt renewed and well, so it was supposed to be a 3 month program. Well, I was only in there for 2.5 months because they kicked me out because they said I threatened one of the guards or something there, which was it was. I mean, I probably was just a little aggressive and he got scared, but it was kind of BS. That's all I'm gonna say.
Right.
So what happened was my girlfriend at the time, she came pick me up, and she came pick me up from rehab, and I went home, and since then, not it changed for a while, but I never really gave my true life, my all my heart to him, you know. So it was a bumpy road still. I mean, I've been I've I've almost lost my life a few times from drinking. Um, I could tell you one time, one of my times, many times, one of the times, you know, I was just in and out of bar rooms partying, you know, but I was doing all right, okay. And then I bought my house in Ponchatoula when I was 21, right? This is like a year and a half after I got a rehab, and I got my house, you know, to be closer to my mom, and still drinking, partying, you know, set my 7 days off. Like I was going to work to sober up, you know. Um, and I remember one time I got in a fight with my girlfriend at the time, and I smashed a beer bottle over my head, and I cut the main artery right here to my head, and it was like faucet coming out, and they brought me to the hospital not far from the bar, and I'll just remember like laying down in the hospital bed, and I remember looking at the the person's the doctor's face shield and just blood just pouring on, and I was dying, I was bleeding to death, and
Is this during COVID?
nah, this is before COVID,
Okay.
yeah, and but they wore the shield because they didn't want the blood splatter on their
Right,
face.
right,
It
right.
was that bad. And I just remember laying there and I'm like, dude, I'm dying. Like this is it. Like I'm I just felt like I feel so like I felt like I was floating, like, and the nurse grabbed my hand. I was like, am I dying? Like, am I gonna be okay? She's like, you're gonna be okay. But like, and I seen her look at the doctor like she was worried. Well, they ended up was able to stitch it up, and just as fast as they could. But I had to go to another hospital after to get it restitched because it was all like it would have scarred really bad. And yeah, so that was one of the situations. And after that, like when these things happen that I'm gonna tell you, like after that, I always turn to him. I would always turn to him, and I would be good for a while. But then it's the alcohol. The alcohol just brought me back. Like the alcohol was my devil, you know. Like it just brought me back. The alcohol and that party lifestyle, it just dragged me back, you know. And so I just continue to go out. You know, still working my job, continue to go out, and well, after that happened, I so whenever the mojo was going around, remember that? And this is the point. This is something that happened to where I knew, because I always knew that there was I always believed that there was a God in Jesus, but I always had my doubts. You know what I mean? Like I always I wasn't sure. You know, like what if there's not? You know, like what if there what if there's not? Because when I was growing up, I never really seen like it. You know what I mean? I never really seen miracles. I never seen this. My dad just said, go to church, you know? Well, whenever that mojo pandemic was around, and like people in my area and around the United States, I don't know if you remember, like they would smoke mojo and then go in a coma and they
Yeah.
wouldn't come out. Like
Yeah.
a lot of them happened to. Well, one night I was drinking again. There it is, drinking alcohol. And I was like, my friend was like, you want to go smoke some mojo? I said, yeah, I'll do it, whatever. Well, we go to where it was, whatever. He had like a little wrapped up already, and it was like hidden in a truck. I was like, that's weird, but whatever. So I hit it one time. I remember I hit it one time. That's it. And I'm driving down Highway 22 in Belchase, and a dude that I was with that gave it to me, he was sitting in the passenger seat, and he's like, and I'm like, and I just remember I completely forgot how to drive and where I was at. And I'm like, dude, you got to drive this truck. I was just like, I blanked out. So he grabs the steering wheel, he turns us into a McDonald's parking lot. And once we got in the parking lot, I blacked out. Well, when I woke up in a hospital 3 days later, I had tubes down my, I woke up, like they pulled the tubes, I had tubes. I was on life support for 3 days. And it's a funny story that when I pulled in, it's not funny, but when I pulled in the
Right.
McDonald's, him and his brother, they live close, and his mom's a nurse. One of my friends, I don't know, y'all can't see him, but my friend Jesse's here. His mom's a nurse, and they live close. Well, when I was blacked out, I was in my truck having seizures, like convulsed, like my eyes rolling back in my head, and Jesse and his brother are two strong boys, right? And they were on each arm trying to pull my arms apart, couldn't do it, and I had a seizure for about 45 minutes. They brought me to their parents' house, and their mom did something to me to where I was okay until the ambulance came. And yeah, I was on life support for 3 days. And when I say I had doubts, and this really cleared that up for me. So when I was in the hospital, I don't remember nothing, right? The only thing I remember, and I say the same story in the same picture, I could still see it to this day. I was standing up, and I was just looking at, like my legs and my feet and my body. And then I looked up and I seen like, it was just like a black like background, but it was just a bunch of diamonds in the middle. And it was light shining through the diamonds, and it was getting closer. All right. And I remember that. And then I woke up, and I don't know what it was, but I'm gonna tell you one thing. My mom, all my dad's friends that were from White Dove, like they had about 20, 30 people in the hospital praying for me, because the doctor said he's either gonna, like, there's like a 10% chance your son's gonna like come out of that coma, because nobody was coming out the coma. Like everybody was either they had to pull the plug, you know what I mean? Like they weren't coming out of it. He's like, there's a 10% chance he's coming out of that coma, or if he does, he's not gonna be right for the rest of his life. Like he's gonna be different. Because they were sticking needles in me. I had no reaction, no nerve. Like they thought I had brain damage. But I came out through the power of prayer. I guarantee it. Like that's what happened. And I look back at it now, and my mom's done like some research. Like people that's almost passed away had the same exact. They seen the same thing I seen, and like people say, "Oh, you seen the light." I mean, it is, but see, this is where I put it. I put it to where it's, yeah, I was either going to heaven, or it was Jesus telling me, "Look, this is what heaven looks like, a little glimpse of it." But I really wasn't going there, and he had something different for me, and I truly believe he had a different plan in my life. You know. Well, I came out of it, and I was fine. I mean, I got my captain's license 2 weeks after I came out. Um, yeah, I mean, that was pretty crazy. Um, so that happened. Ever since that, like ever since time something bad happened to me, like it just grew stronger. I don't know if that's weird, but I knew after that that gave me like no, I had no more doubt. You know what I mean? Like I knew he was real through that, through like everybody else that wasn't making it out, or they were coming out, they were had like their brain was messed up. Like I was fine, and I believe that like the power of prayer, like everybody was praying over me. Like I believe that it was real. Like there was no doubt I shouldn't be here right now. Like and so that like kind of changed that perspective for me. But again, there again, I was going to the Church of King after that, and I wasn't living right, but I was trying, and he was there convicting me, more than ever, and so yeah, that was probably like 3 or 4 years went by, or 3 years, or 2 or 3 years, something like that, and I was still in and out of the club and the bar, and it's just one thing about in and out of jail. I was in and out of jail from by the time I was 17 to probably 22, 21, 22. Just fighting in the bar. That's the one thing too. And I've I've hurt a lot of people, through just from alcohol. Like just alcohol was just such a demon to me. It would just turn me into this person that I'm not. It just took control of everything. Um, so I dealt with that, and I just had a lot of anger still built up, towards my childhood and just stuff I went through. And I would never express my feelings sober. Like I would never cry. I would never, because I've never seen my dad cry. Like my mom, I love her to death. She's a sweetheart, but she's not like, I didn't grow up like you. I fall on the ground. Oh, get back up, sweetie. It's okay. Like, you know what I mean? I never had that. Like,
Right.
they were tough. Like, they loved me. They told me they loved me, but it wasn't like that. You know what I mean? Like, compassion. Okay. I didn't have a lot of compassion, so I wasn't compassionate. And today, I still work on that. I mean, I would think I'm a lot better, but today I still work on that. But yeah, so I dealt with that for a couple years, in and out of jail, fighting, still drinking, partying, but I would go to church on Sundays. And every Sunday I would sweat and I'd feel so convicted. I'm like, why do you do this to yourself? But I would just get dragged in because I was in the wrong relationship with this girl that wasn't saved, and I was trying to bring her. I was trying to change her. Like I've had many girlfriends since then, and every single time I've always bring them to church for the first time. But you can't. You can't change somebody. They gotta do it for themselves. But so then, by the grace of God, I met my wife, Megan. Because before her, like I said, I always had him with me. But if I would have kept going down the road I was going, I was gonna end up being dead or in prison. Either dead from alcohol, drinking myself to death, or in prison for killing somebody. You know, that's how bad it was. And boy, I'm telling you, I met Megan, and she just changed my life completely. She just calmed me down. I was able to open up to her. I was able to be vulnerable with her. Like I've never been before. And the first couple years, well, first year we were together, like she never really grew up in faith. She did kinda, but her parents fell out of it. So when I brought her to church the first time, she just fell in love. Like because she never experienced non-denomination. She was a Catholic church. So when she's experienced that, it just filled her like quick, you know. And I seen that, and I'm like, man, like that's the woman I want to marry, you know. And well, I mean, it was still a rough road for the first couple years we were together. I was still drinking, partying, you know, but we were just doing it together. But it wasn't as excessive. Okay, it wasn't as excessive. I mean, there was excessive times, and I would get sober for a year, and then I would drink. I'm like, oh, it's okay, I could drink one time, and then I get blackout, and then I'd be sober for another year, and then do it again. But um, yeah. So she was a savior to me. But one thing that really changed between us and made our connection stronger, and I knew I was gonna marry her. Like I wasn't sure. I was like, I think I want to marry her. But the one thing for sure that married me. And this is another incredible story about how Jesus is real. Like, and gave me more confirmation. You know. So I wanted to. So I like to go deep sea fishing, you know, spear fishing. Like I love doing that. I love that. You asked me what my hobbies were. I never said it, but deer hunting, anything outdoors. Like I have a passion for it. That's what my dad grew up with. That's what I learned. But one thing I do is I like free diving. You swim around, you shoot the fish. Like you wear my wetsuit. You know?
I did. Actually worked great. Thank you.
Well, so I did that. I've been offshore. I mean, hundreds of times spearfishing. I've been rod and reel fishing a good bit of times, but not a lot. Just a few times with my friends. So I didn't really know what it was about. All I know is I just love being out there and doing it. Well, I got this job opportunity to be somebody's deckhand that went offshore and catch tuna and brought customers, and I was gonna be the deckhand. He was gonna teach me and stuff like that. I was like, cool, like that'd be great. Like I was even thinking like if I like this, I don't even have to work on a tugboat. I didn't know how hard it was, like on your body and all the extra stuff. But I found out quick, and I knew it was God. And I knew that God gave me this captain for a reason. I didn't know what it was now, but I know now. Like it makes sense. So what I'm talking about is this dude, this captain. He's been out there for a long time, and one thing about him is he fishes the hardest. So he'll fish before the sun comes up, and when the sun goes down, that's when you're heading back every day. And there's these things called fun trips, right? Where pretty much it's just he's bringing a group of people, they're paying him, but they drink beer. Like you don't have to work as hard because they really don't care. Like they're more laid back, you know? And, I didn't know the meaning of that, you know? Well, it doesn't matter if it was a fun trip, like a serious one. Like this dude was fishing 14 hours. Like nobody did that in Venice. Like it's rare. Like people tell me all the time, like that's how he is, and I didn't know that, you know. Anyway, so I was with him for 3 days. Didn't sleep. I tried to sleep in his place. Didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. I was running through this stuff in my head. I need to learn this because I wanted to learn it so fast. Like I didn't just minimal sleep, minimal water when I was out there. I was so dehydrated. I was just working because, like I said, when I do something, it's either 100 or 0. So, like, I was putting my all into it, and it just wore me out to where I had the doctor. I'll tell you, but I ended up having a heat stroke. So the last day, I'm sitting in bed, and all we got to do is just I got to get up in the morning, take the reels out of the boat, hose them off, and he pays me, you know. And I'm just sitting in bed. I couldn't sleep, and I just had like, oh no. That day, when we're coming back from the trip, and this is crazy too. We were coming back from the trip, the last offshore trip, and I'm sitting on the boat, and I just had a I don't know what you call it, a revelation where you just like it's just like I've been saved before, but it was just a different feeling. Like I'm just like it just all hit me hard. I'm just like he's talking. I remember just laying on a beanbag, driving to the next spot, like right, you know, because I was exhausted. I was like, Cap, I gotta lay down. And he's like, go lay down. And I'm just thinking, I'm looking up in the sky. I'm like, man, I'm getting saved. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it. But the thing is I got up, and it was a older gentleman and his daughter. We were bringing fishing, and they've been out there a bunch of times, and they know what they're doing. Like they know more than me. And I got up and I'm like, Sarah, I'm like, do you believe in Jesus? And speaking about the captain is totally, atheist. Like he doesn't believe in none of that. He thinks it's stupid. So whenever I said that, the captain's like, oh, don't worry about him. But the dude, the older gentleman, is like, oh yeah, I do. I love the Lord. And I could tell something was different in them when I first we were fishing stuff. I could tell because they were kind of quiet. They didn't really, all the trips everybody's like, F this, that drinking. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that. So I just felt like I could ask him that. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I told him I was like, I think I just got saved. Like that's what I said. I swear. And he's like, man, that's awesome. So anyway, so we got back to the dock and clean fish. And I told him before I leave, I was like, I just want to apologize, because I wasn't on my game. I'm sorry. Like I lost fish. I'm new and also I'm exhausted. Like, and he's like, look, he said, you don't have to explain nothing to me. He's like, I just want you to know that I love you. He told me that. He said, I just want you to know that I love you. And I'm like, wow. He was like, you can give me a hug. And he gave me a hug. And I thought that was crazy. I was like, wow, that's like, what are the odds of me going through this and then him being on the boat? Okay. So I get back. So this is whenever I'm trying to sleep. Can't sleep. Next morning, got to put the reels up. And I'm just thinking about this. And I'm like, you know what? Like I'm having like this revelation. Like I got to call my dad. Like I started but the whole time it was that. And I was heat exhaustion. I was super dehydrated. I didn't wear gloves. So I had cuts all over my hands. They were infected. Like I had a red line going down my wrist. And that's how you know infections get into your arm. But I was like, I need to go home. I was like, I need to go to my dad's. And I think this is the first time, that was the first time in my whole life that I've ever called my dad and needed his help like that. Like, come get me. Like, I need you. I've never done that before. But the Lord was just telling me, call your dad. Like, go home. So I was like, all right. I was like, Dad, come get me. He was like, you can't drive. He's like, I'll come get you. I was like, I don't know. I was like, maybe just meet me halfway. And I don't know where, Venice is. It takes one road to get there.
Yeah.
And I've been down that road. I'm from there. I'm from Port Sulphur, like raised in Lake Hermitage pretty much. Like I know I know where everything is. Where I remember I left Venice. I left this dude's camp. I was so delusional and just so the heat exhaustion, the heat stroke, like I was just out of it. I didn't know where I was. I was freaking out on the phone. And it's crazy. Like I was on the phone with my dad the whole time crying. I never cried at my dad. I've never done that. And I'm on the phone with my dad, and I'm just like I'm confessing all kind of stuff to him. Like I'm not the good person. Like I'm confessing all kind of stuff. And my dad thought I was like on drugs or something. You know what I mean? But I wasn't. It's just it's the fact that my body was at the point where like I could have died. Right? I could have. I was severely dehydrated. And then God just like put a shield over me to protect me. That's what it felt like when I was on the boat. He just like covered me. That's what it felt like. And I remember driving home, like not knowing where anything is, like not knowing how to get home. And all I gotta do is go down one road, hit Domino's Pizza, and make a left. That's my dad. I was like, Dad, you gotta meet me halfway. He's like, all right, I'll meet you at the top of Lake Hermitage Road. That's where our house and campsite. That's where I was like grew up at pretty much. And I said, all right, so he meet me, I follow him all the way back to the house. I get home and I'm telling him all this, and he's just like, he thinks like I'm on something. You know what I mean? And honestly, it's fair because I looked cracked out probably. I was like, I was just done with. I was so exhausted, And so he went to sleep. I went laid down. I called my girlfriend at the time over. Oh, wait, it was Megan. Girlfriend. It was Megan. And this is like, my dad had a rule at the house, like, no, you can't sleep unless you're married. You can't sleep in the same, which I respect that now. I didn't understand it before, but
Right.
I respect it now. I'm like, and he was mad. He's like, Megan came over. I was like, Dad, you don't understand. I feel like I'm dying. Well, I remember she just laid in bed and she held me, and I was I was shaking so bad, like I couldn't, like for like 2 hours I was just shivering because I don't know. I don't know. I guess that's one of the symptoms. I have no idea. I didn't know what was going on at the time, and I was just mumbling. She said I was just mumbling all kind of stuff to her. Well, I woke up the next morning and I looked at my hands, and my hands were so swollen. Like I said, I seen that, and I was like, and God told me, they said, look, go to the bathroom and fill up the sink with hot water, like steaming hot water. Put a bunch of salt in it, a bunch of rubbing alcohol in it, and just put your hands in it and just pray for like 5 minutes. That's what I swear. That's what he told me. I went in the bathroom and I did that. I mean, I'm telling you, my hands were so bad shape. Like I needed something. Like I needed to go to the hospital for them. Like they were bad. Like I said, like it was infected. It was running up my arm. And I put my hands on the water and I prayed and I was like, please, Lord, like just heal my hands. Like just like I'm in so much pain. Like I don't want to lose my hands. Like and I took my hands out the water and they were like completely like healed, like almost. Like it was crazy. Like the cuts were still there, but it was no more infection. Like the line was gone. It was gone. It was gone. And I told my dad that, and I mean he was kind of like shocked, like wow, you know. I'm like, and so after that happened, oh, and I was at the time I was on like serious anxiety medicine, and I didn't take it for like 3 days. So that explains the hallucinate, because I was like hallucinating and stuff too. And so I went to the doctor, like I was out of it. Like I was cuckoo. I was cuckoo. You know what I mean? Like I was not right. I was super. I, my mom never thought I was coming out of it. Like I was out there. And I remember I went to her parents' house when I left my dad's. Whenever I woke up on my hands, I went to her parents' house and I couldn't leave her room. I was just so like scared of everything. And I've never been really scared of anything my entire life. And I was scared of everything. And I remember she had a Florida trip with her family coming. I was like, babe, I can't go. There's no way. Like, I was so socially, I felt like everybody was out to get me like that. Well, so she, and of course, she didn't go. She stayed. And I went to the doctor by her house. My mom had to drive all the way to the North Shore to the doctor with me because I couldn't even make it to the doctor's office. I had to pull over inside the road. Like, that's how bad it was, and leave my truck on the side of the road. And I got to the doctor's office, and they took my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was skyrocketing. Like I just couldn't calm down. And he gave me some medicine and tried to help me for it. But I was in my house for 2 3 weeks after that, just trying to like recuperate. Like I was out of it for a while. Like I was even like I was even like so like scared. Like I was like even though like I remember like I was when I was by myself and she had to go to work. I remember I got on my knees and I was just praising, worshiping by myself because I was scared. I was like scared. I remember the night I got home, I was in the bathtub, and this is crazy too because I was in the bathtub and I was shivering so bad, like still, and she was just pouring like that water was hot, and I was so cold. And she was just, I remember she had worship music on. She was praying for me, pouring water over my head like I was getting baptized. And ever since that day, I was like, yeah, I'm marrying you in 6 months. I'm putting a ring on it. And but yeah, those couple weeks were hard, but she stayed by my side, man. I mean, I would have never. Like the first day I got home, I said, "Just leave. I don't want you to like to see me like this. Like you're not gonna want to be with me. Like I am out of it." And, like I wouldn't take my medicine. Like I was so scared to take. I thought they were giving me wrong. I was so like
Paranoid.
paranoid. Oh my gosh, paranoid. So I finally got better. And I started going to work again. And you know, ever since that happened, we our faith grew stronger. Like I said, it grew stronger again and again. And you know, we weren't 100%, but we were, you know, making it a choice to go to church and you know change the kind of music we kind of listen to, you know, and we were making an effort, you know, and got proposed to her like 6 months later, and we got married, and I was like I said, so I was sober. I was sober for a good year, and then we got married a couple months before we got married, I started drinking again. I was like, I'm just gonna drink beer, and I drank beer. Got really drunk for my wedding, and it just led back to me overusing it and blacking out again, and I so I fell again, and being an alcoholic, and I'm telling you, I went to AA meetings after that. I mean, it worked. It worked for a while, for about another year. Sorry, it worked for about another year, but then I just fell back. I was like, dude, the AA is not working for me. I was like, there's only one thing that's gonna work for me. I was like, it's Jesus. Like, I need to really dedicate my life, because if not, I'm gonna lose my wife and kid. Like, she told me, if you ever drink again, like, I'm gone. Like, I shouldn't have to put up with that. You know, it's not that I was abusive drunk. I was just angry. I was just not a different person.
Just
like
aggressive.
aggressive, right? I just wasn't. I wasn't there. I was lost. Like, you could look in my eyes and I'm not there. Like, that's what she said. And she was like, I'm telling you right now, if you drink again, that's it. And she was like, you need to like change. You need to make a change. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. And I mean, ever since then, I've been just trying to devote my life to the Lord, and I mean, it's been working out pretty good. I mean, I give it all to Him, because I'm telling you right now, if it wasn't for Him and my wife, I would not be sitting at this table. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't deny that there's no Jesus Christ.
No, yeah, 100%.
Like, just me listening to your story. I mean, I think it was 4 times you was in the hospital.
Yeah.
Twice bleeding to death. Another time going into a coma. How long?
3 days.
3 days. And just like being here, sharing this testimony I'm encouraged. Like, I'm trying to hold back my tears, because it is evident that there is a reason that you are alive.
Oh yeah. Yeah. See. And
I know, like, I meet you and I'm like, there's no way that dude was a jerk.
Right. Right.
But
I know it's crazy, because, and recently, like I said, like, I've always believed, like, if a conversation, with them, like, in a time frame that I've been alive, if a conversation come up with my friends, like, I never denied them. Like, I always said I believed in Jesus and God, like, but I wasn't, my heart, He wasn't in me. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of it is I didn't want to go to hell. That's what the biggest thing. I was like so scared. Like, my dad used to say, you don't want to go to hell. You know, you at least want to, if there is a heaven or hell, you at least want to go to heaven. You know, you want to believe. So that's what I thought. I just got to believe. All right, I believe in God. I'm good. Like that, I was scared of going to hell. You see what I'm saying? I was never really just like, I want a relationship. I want to change my life, like, for here on earth. I want to impact others' lives. I never really thought of that. I just like, when I die, I don't want to burn in hell for eternity. You know, that was my mindset. And it wasn't until, about a year almost now that's changed. Like, because I know I have to do something different. Like, He doesn't, like, yeah, He wants me to go to heaven, but he has a purpose for me. He wants me to live a good life on earth. And he put me through all those situations and all that trauma for a reason. That way I have a testimony, you know, and I feel like, you know, my wife, I mean, the sweetest person ever. I mean, she always tries to figure out, you know, what's my purpose, you know, like, what's God's purpose for me? And she asks me, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like, for the longest, like, I really don't know, but I really believe, like, it's to get this out there and might touch somebody. Like, I mean, I just know if God could do that in my life, He could do it in anybody's life. Yeah. I mean, I know I never had the worst. Like, I know there's a lot of people that had it worse, but I know who I was, and like, I didn't care. There was a point where I didn't care who you were. Like, we would go places, and like, if you looked at me wrong, like, that was it. Like, I thrived on that, like that adrenaline rush and of just being just angry, like anger. That was my big thing, just anger. And I liked it, like, 'cause it would get me going. you know. And I always thought too, I'm like, there's no way, like you're such a bad person, you have a bad heart, like there's no way, like God, like I had all them thoughts, you know. But I'm telling you, man, like he chooses us, like we're that one sheep out of 100, you know. Like wanted us to go through all that for a reason, because he knows we're strong, like we're his warriors, you know. Like one day we'll come to him. I mean, one day he'll be in us, and one day we'll realize, man, he did all that for a reason. Like I'm about to just share it. And it took a while. Like I never wanted to talk about it, but like the past few months, I've been like, yeah, that's I need to get it out. Like, I need to finally tell somebody other than like the people that were there, my friends for most of it, and my wife. Like I need to tell a lot more people, because I mean it could do a lot of good, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah, what he'll allow us to go through, and it just, just goes to show you what the enemy meant for evil, God will turn it for good. What the enemy meant to kill you with bleeding out
yeah,
twice, now, and those things you are sharing your testimony,
yeah,
and you're exalting God and bringing, hey, Jesus is the reason that I am who I am. So let's go into, so we talked about your childhood, who you were before Christ, and a little bit about how you, I guess, dedicated your life to Christ.
hmm
Let's just go into, where you are now in Christ, how your marriage is. I know Hope and I have, um, been hanging out with you and Megan, and it's y'all are a blessing for us. Like y'all are just we enjoy y'all, especially Jax. I mean, the
oh
most
yeah,
adorable son in the world. He's like the church
oh
baby,
yeah.
like just hot potato with Jax.
He loves to worship too,
Yeah,
boy.
yeah, he is a worshiper. But y'all just recently got baptized, and then we have Jax is getting dedicated on his first birthday at the house. So you have church family and family coming together.
Mhm.
So just go ahead and just share like where you're at right now, what the Lord's doing.
Yeah, no doubt. So about almost a year ago now, like I said, the last time I drank, that was a big step for me, because I was serious about it this time. You know, I mean, I was serious about the other times, but I was looking for solutions in wrong places. Like AA meetings, like I'm sure they're great for people, but it just wasn't like I know that it wasn't a fix for me. Like I needed him. Like he was my AA. You see what I'm saying? Or people like you, or other believers like that are my brothers that I could go to. Like that is what I need. Like accountability partners. That's what I need. Not some dude in an AA meeting that, I mean, whatever. But so after I got sober, this last time, I that part was good. Our marriage always has been me and Megan's relationship has always been amazing. I mean, one of the things why is we're two totally different people. You know, she's this outgoing, the loudest person in the room, biggest personality, sweetest person, and then I mean, there's me. I'm quiet. I'm really not. I'm not outspoken. If I don't like know you,
Right.
you know what I mean. Like, um, she's so laid back, and I'm so like all over the place. You know, it's just like we go perfect for each other. So that was never a problem. We never really had a whole lot of argument, like big fights. When we got married, I mean, of course you have your fights, but I mean, a lot of them was because of my drinking. And she would tell me, and it would just make me so mad, like, and it was, I mean, every fight we had was my fault. I mean, come on, but yeah. So, so how long ago you think it was the first time I came and y'all prayed over us? How long ago you think that was? 6, 7 months?
No, probably about 4 months.
4 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's see, August, September. It's probably October.
Okay.
Uh,
So
about 4 months.
since I haven't been drinking, so yeah, it's like so before that, and I'll get to that. But before that, I was still kind of using stuff to I guess put in, what do you call something where you put something in another someone's place? Substitute. I was kind of
Fill in some
Yeah,
voids.
I was kind of doing that with other things besides alcohol. So I was like I would use like I would like when we would go places like because she was still hanging out with some of her old friends that she doesn't hang out with no more, and we would all they wanted to do was party. So I would still use like I would still do like cocaine and stuff like that, just so I wouldn't feel like I had to drink. It's not necessarily like I needed cocaine. Like it wasn't like that. It was just like, all right, well, this is gonna help me because not to drink because if I drink, it's a whole lot worse for me.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Substituting.
Right, right. That's what I thought. But that I just have a very addictive personality, no matter what it is. Like I said, 100 to 0 with me, and it got to the point where I started like doing it kind of whenever I didn't need to do it. Like, why are you doing it? You're at your house sitting there, you know. And then it wasn't a long span. It might have been like a month or two after I got sober with alcohol that I was doing it. And Megan found out, and I kind of just broke down to her like I just feel so like I feel like I needed this. Like I just hate seeing everybody drink around me. I just feel like this keeps me like going, you know. And and ever since that, like she told me again, she said, "Look, she said I love you, and I'm glad you're, you know, coming to me, but this has to stop." And I was like, "You're right, you know, this is not right. Like I'm just substitute. I didn't realize about it. That's what I was doing, and so I didn't do that no more. And started after that, I started when I was working. I worked out. I work out a lot. I used to, not anymore, but so I would take like pro hormones and then so I'll do that and with the anxiety medicine it just wasn't it was messing with my testosterone. I was taking testosterone shots, you know, thinking it was gonna help with my testosterone, but it wasn't. So me and Megan's like my drive, you know, to be intimate was it wasn't working right, and I just like I said, we were going to church every Sunday, but I just I didn't really give it myself full to him yet. Like I was like might have been halfway there. You know what I mean? And man, our it started impacting our relationship for like a good 2 months, 2-3 months after that. After I stopped using that, and like I was just very aggressive. I thought I didn't want to be with her. Like I thought I didn't love her. I thought I wasn't attracted to her no more. It was just the devil trying to rip us apart. It was the devil was just lying to me so much over those couple months, saying you just need to leave your wife. You know, you could do so much better. You could raise Jacks by yourself. You don't need nobody. You know, like you're not in love. You don't want to be married. Like that's the stuff he was telling me, and man, and I was on a boat one day, and I got off of testosterone, and it was that too. Like all my levels are out of whack, like, and I was just like, I can't do this no more. I told her over the phone. I was like, I don't know if I love you no more, like, but I didn't realize at the time, like, no matter what I was feeling at the time, love is not a feeling; it's an action. You know, I mean, it really is. Like you could feel different from now than 5 minutes later. It doesn't affect, like, love is doing, being there, doing, whatever you got to do for your family. And, I just wasn't giving her the affection she needed. And that's something I always had trouble with her because I was never raised with it. And it was just really hard a couple months, and it was we were in a bad spot. And then we came to the church, and I'm telling you, man, like, I don't know, like, we both went up there and y'all prayed on us, and just something just hit me. Like, it was just crazy. Like, I felt like I was crying. Like, I never do that. Like, I was so overwhelmed. Like, I always, like I told you, I was like, because she was like, yeah, the church, I'm going to the church, and she was showing me videos. I'm like, it's only like, a few people. Like, what is this? Like, cause I never was introduced to that. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know. I feel awkward because I'm a socially awkward person. Like, if I don't know people, so I'm like, well, being in a room with only that many people, like, I don't know. Like, what do they think? Like, I care what people think about me. That's how I was. And She was like, I'm telling you, just come one time. I was like, all right, I'm gonna come. So I went, and I mean, I felt like I didn't care about anybody in the room. Like when I was with Megan, you were praying over us. Like you just spoke so much truth. Like everything you were saying and praying about, it was just hitting me. Like boom, boom, boom. And I'm telling you, since we left that, it was just like it changed our relationship. Like our marriage did a whole 180. I mean, we're doing better than ever. I mean, you know, it's still a journey every day. Like I'm
Yeah.
not perfect. Like our relationship's not perfect, but we communicate so much better. You know, we came seeing y'all for some counseling. I mean, that was really good. You know, I mean, it's just we're just my life and our marriage is just completely changed, and I never want to go back. You know what I mean? I mean,
Right.
you know, like I said, we have our hard days, but like now, like I just try to surround myself with His presence. Like I just listen. We will have worship playing constantly in the house. Like I just try to like just focus on Him all the time, and I mean, it's working, man.
That's so awesome, man. What a testimony. What a testimony. And it was cool all the day, like the baptism. You know, like I mean, it's supposed to be 40-something degrees outside. We all worried about the cold weather, and then we were like, hey, we're just gonna do it, you know. And I mean, the sun came out.
Dude, I'm just telling you, like I was like, even because my dad called me, he's like, son, he's like, dude, like it was the day before, he's like, you know, it's gonna be just like this, with you know, sun, windier than this, and it's gonna be colder, like 5 degrees colder. He's like, you sure you want to do that? But dude, I'm telling you, it's crazy because it was like probably 8 mile an hour winds. It was supposed to be 30 mile an hour winds. It was supposed to be cloudy. It was no clouds.
With the sun shining.
Yes, it was. I mean, it was incredible.
I know. That's the second time that happened. The first time was supposed to be real cool in November. And I'm like, let's just do it. You know, we think we baptized 3 people, and the sun came out and it warmed up. And as soon as we got done, it got cold again. And it was just like the coolest thing ever. And it's like, man, like we serve a God who said, peace be still in a storm, and then stop. He parted the Red Sea.
Yeah.
So we could say, hey, sun, come out, you know. And it did. But man, this was an honor and a privilege and a blessing. And I know that the people watching are going to, you know, feel the same way. But real quick, if there's one thing you could tell a person watching, just to encourage them, what would you tell them? And you could look at them and tell them.
One thing would just be, you know, if you feel like you're not good enough, okay, like if you feel like your past is too hardcore, or you just feel like why do I deserve God's love? Like, just let me explain to you. He longs for people like us. Like I said before, like he would leave his 99 sheep for us out of 100. Like, what I'm just saying is if it could happen to me, it could happen to you. Like, it's just, you just gotta want to do it. You gotta just want to have your life changed. You gotta want to just have a better life. You just gotta pursue Him. Just try it out. Like I said, I'm still trying every single day. I'm far from perfect, and I'll be trying to the day I die. But you just gotta try, because if I'm telling you right now, if you try it, I mean, it's real. I mean, it's real, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Do me a favor, if this blessed you at all, just share, like it. It's going to be on Facebook. It's going to be on YouTube. Just share it with some friends. And if you know somebody going through something that Jeremy went through, and they could, you know, relate to it, and this could benefit them from here, and just share it with them. We love y'all. We hope y'all have a blessed day. Thank you for tuning in
Later.
to our weekly testimony. Y'all be blessed.